Hi friends, Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. With this prayer, we start a basic input on what materials we need for the Zentangling sessions that we are to have. So I decided to first show you a few papers that we would be using. After which I will show you a few pens and pencils and other stationery that you can be using. So to begin with, any kind of a A4 Xerox paper or office paper will be quite fine for us to do our Zentangling. A4 size is good because then you can do right in the center. You can also expand it or you can cut it later. You can also use an A5 size book, sketchbook. If you notice here it says 140 GSM, okay, grams per square meter. And it says also white cartridge paper. The price at that time was probably 125. I don't know how much it will be now, maybe 130 or 135. So this is one of those books that you can be using. You can use it to do, like a rough book. You can put in all your sketches in one place. So it'll be ideal for that. If you notice, it has some kind of a texture in it. I think probably it's not too visible over here, but it's got a nice texture. So when you do pencil shading, you get a good feel of it, of the paper. And then it's spiral bound, so that's also convenient for us. So once you finish your drawing, you can either pull it off or turning the pages are easy. Now you also have a sketchbook which is a little thicker in paper. It says 240 GSM, 270 GSM, I'm sorry, and white cartridge paper with 30 sheets. So you can buy a book like this. Cartridge paper is a regular paper, drawing paper, an artist's paper, and it is quite thick and it has a real good feel. I think you can see the difference between this and a normal A4 office paper. It feels very good on either side. It's not too rough on one side or light on one side, and it's this and then you also have a regular drawing book, as it is called. It's slightly narrower than an A4 sheet, but it is the classmate drawing book that you can find in any store. And it doesn't give particularly any details of the GSM over here, but I guess it is around 120 GSM or something like that if you compare it with an office paper which would be 70 to about 80 GSM maximum. So it's thicker than that and it's good enough for doing your Zentangle sketches. We have another book called the Classmate Artist Pad or a bulky artist paper. Again, it says 130 GSM, so it's definitely lighter than the earlier Hindustan book, but thicker than this one. Almost thicker. Actually, it is almost about the same as this. Only this has got a fewer number of sheets. Here you have more sheets. Not only that, you have more sheets over here, you also have a perforation at the end of the paper in such a way that you can rip off the paper whenever you want to take it apart instead of tearing it. And this is always a good practice to fold at the folding where there is the perforation and then just snap it out. This is a good way of doing it instead of bending the paper and opening it. You can do your work and store it in a separate paper or a separate file, or you can frame it. Now there is the A4 size sketchbook, Hindustan sketchbook. It says this is 230 GSM as compared to the earlier one, which was a little more than that, 270 GSM. So the number of sheets also are varied, that is 30 sheets and this is 50 sheets. It gives a good feeling for drawing and sketching if you would like, and it's not very expensive. It's good, it's affordable. It has a slight texture, and this is called a knurled texture, knurled paper. It feels very good for doing pen work on this kind of a paper. You can also use a regular scrapbook which you would find in any store around you. And this scrapbook has basically got neutral colors over there. And these colors are very good for Zentangles because you can use a lighter pen or a darker pen. You can use color pencils. You can also use this scrapbook as a place where you can store your Zentangles that you have drawn in bits of card, bits of papers, and so on. You can directly draw on this with a white pen or with a black pen, and then use color pencils accordingly, lighter, darker color pencils, and they'll really look very, very good. Okay, it's nice thick paper. It should be definitely more than 150 GSM. So now I want to show you some pens and pencils. Here we have some pens, and I'm just showing you how I store them. I basically store them in cans, tins, glasses, mugs with or without handles, or I do some stuff like this on cans and I keep them. So I have about 4 or 5 of them lined up in front of me, so I could put different sketch pens or color pencils or drawing pencils and pens, all of them separate. Now these are marker pens, these are color pencils. So here, remember I told you about the watercolor pencils. You can also add your jelly roll in any one of these tins, or have a few of them so that you can access them. You will be using the white pen quite a bit, so keep them available. Now these are the watercolor pencils, Faber-Castell watercolor pencils. So if you just notice, we're talking about the brand and then the type of pencil. Watercolor pencils are generally a little softer, and so it makes it easy for you to do it as a wash. So I'm just going to show you. This is a blue actually what I'm doing. It's not a black, though it looks more blackish. Now using this blue pencil and doing a bit of shading, if you notice there is something called a brush pen. This is a different brush pen from the black brush pen that I usually show you. Now this is a brush pen where you can fill water over here, and once you fill the water, you open the cap of this pen. It actually works in the opposite direction to fill, so that you accidentally don't open it. There's a bristle like a brush in the end. So these bristles are very soft. They're synthetic but very soft. You just have to dip them in water. I'm not dipping it in water because I don't have water next to me right now. But I'm just showing you that it really gives a very good feel. It's very soft. It gives a watercolor like texture, feeling. Once it dries, you can go over it once again like I'm doing right now with a pencil, with a different color pencil, or you can do it darker. And again let it dry, and then you can work with a pen on that. Now the advantage of doing this will be that you can do your drawings on top of this, so you don't have to worry about drawing within an area or something like that. And if you want, you can also mask out the outside areas, so this relieves the pressure of trying to draw within an area, using color pencils within a very small area. And this way also the shading would appear. This is a shortcut technique, but still the circle would appear like it is popping up. Now about the other pens that you can be using, you can use any pen, just any pen, gel pen or a ball pen or anything like that. So then let's talk about circles. I mean, using other instruments, a compass. I picked up the compass, but then you also have the erasers, the sharpeners, and for the pencil work, and the masking tape. A masking tape is very handy because your paper might be moving a little bit this way, that way, in which case you can just take a bit of the tape and you can put it on two parts of your paper onto the board or whatever surface you are drawing upon. It's good to draw on a flat surface, a table surface. You can also do it on a drawing pad, but remember that the pad clip, whatever you're using, might affect or damage the paper that you're using. So this masking tape is very easy. If you just put it like how I've shown you on top, left and right bottom, it will stay in place, and that is enough to keep your paper in place. Keep a rubber, regular rubber, a normal simple rubber handy, a cutter. Always use a cutter in the right direction. I use cutters to sharpen my pencils more often, except for color pencils where I take sharpeners. Now this, what I'm having in hand, is a silver pencil, and I've taken a green pencil now, which is a watercolor pencil. You can see that there is a difference in the sharpening. This is a regular sharpened pencil. But the pencil in my compass, if you notice, is a one which is sharpened with a blade. Now you can do this. The advantage is there is more of the lead that is exposed. And look at my shading pencils. I do it this way, where you have more of the graphite that is visible. And it makes it easy for shading, because now I'm going to show you a few shading techniques with pencils. We'll talk about grips. Now this is a writing grip. This is a firm grip, and it's also called a tripod grip, where there are 3 pressure points on the pencil. But when you draw, what is important is the wrist movement. So it's not an elbow movement, it's not an arm movement, it's a wrist movement. So it'll be very good for you to practice wrist movements. So your wrist movements are your comfort level. Are they based on your comfort level, on how much you can do on a paper? Remember, you can't do a full circle. You can always do quarter of a circle only, which is very convenient. So it'll be a good thing to do it on a book or a smaller sheet of paper, where you can roll or rotate your paper around and then use it to your convenient angle and complete your work. Okay, now I'm restricted by the width of this paper. Anyway, I'm just showing you for rough, so it's okay. Now let's do a bit of shading also, but I'm showing you the grips. So if you notice, now the grip that I'm having is a looser grip. So I've taken my hand a little behind. Okay, it's not right at the edge near the lead, but it's a little behind. When you do shading, okay, for a circle, let's say, I'm just going to show you something here. When you do a shading, you will notice that for drawing you go right in front, but for loose drawing, for marking outlines and so on, you use it somewhere in, a little before the half point, the midpoint of your pencil. But when you do your shading, you will notice that you go behind in your pencil, really behind. You just draw your pencil, your hand behind on the pencil. Play with it a little bit, go back and forth and get a feel of your pencil much more than we have done earlier. Now you can do your shading. I'm going to show you how to do light to dark or dark to light kind of a shading. So it's again the wrist. Please notice how the wrist is going. Also see how the tip of the pencil is almost touching my point between the thumb and the forefinger. Okay, it's touching that end. And it's a loose one. This is just a regular Apsara drawing 2B pencil. It's not a color pencil. You also have a 12B pencil, sorry, and you also have a 6B pencil, a 2B pencil, a 4B pencil, so on. You can use whatever you feel like. Now, I did a kind of a medium dark tone, and then I'm bringing the pressure down a little bit to a much lighter value. Then you can go over the areas which you feel you want to do them a little darker, and then you can give a gradual gradation, which is what gives us the three-dimensional effect in our drawings, which is what makes our Zentangles enjoyable and real fun. So again, there's no hard and fast rule in this. You can do it any way you want. So it's just practicing this kind of dark to light. So I would suggest that you draw a circle, divide it into 8, and then wrist movement, using wrist movement, just play about a little bit in such a way that you'll get control over the pencil, and then you can do your shading. So here I'm just trying a few types of shading. I'm showing you the wrist movement. So it's that wrist movement which is important for you to get a feel. It's arc like, so you will definitely get a curve, and that really helps. You can get a wristband if you want, if your wrist is hurting, if you've got rheumatic arthritis or something like that. You can try any of those grips, but it's not really necessary for this kind of a drawing unless like you're drawing hours and hours together. Please practice this kind of shading. This is really useful. You can go light to dark, you can go light to medium dark, you can go dark to medium dark, not to very light. You can experiment with some kinds of different types of shading on just one circle. Here I'm putting real lot of pressure when it comes to the dark color, the darker tone, and then I'm making it lighter and lighter. Yeah, when you do demonstrations, it often happens that you do all kinds of mistakes. So generally when I do demonstrations, I tell people that watching demonstrations are very useful for everyone who wants to learn, because it gives you permission to make mistakes. These mistakes are not big mistakes. They are what shall we say, stepping stones to success. Okay, so you can't really do your drawing perfectly without crossing these stages of learning. So please go ahead and experiment. Now I'm doing a light to dark shading. So you can try things like this. It looks like a typhoon, and you are using the entire graphite. That is important. Sometimes when you feel that the pencil lead might break, the graphite lead might break, you can do this. You can support it with your forefinger, and using that pressure you can do a shade. That's very, very satisfying actually. If you try doing this, it gives you that dark feel. And when I'm saying you can go darker and darker, don't worry, just go on, just make it darker and get a real feel of the gradation in your pencils. Keep turning your paper to your convenience, and you can see the kinds of grading. They're all different almost from one another. So after that I'm also showing a light shading, and slowly I'm making it darker. Suppose you can't get a gradual shading, then what? Don't worry, just keep trying. Try in another place, try in another place. And if you don't get it in a graded manner, do it dark. You can add more and more. So it's like instead of from light from 1 to 10, instead of from 1 to 10, you can do it from 5 to 10. Or you can do a very light shading from 1 to 5. It all depends on you. Only that you don't give too many cross strokes. See, I've done it so that you see that it's a little bit jarring where you see those straight lines. disturbing you a little bit. So always have some kind of a logic and order. Following the contour line is a very good practice. Keep mastering the grips. Keep experimenting with the grips, and you will get a good sense of how to use a pencil. Keep turning your paper till you get a convenient angle, till there's not too much pressure on your wrist and the material in front of you. So here I'm trying a different kind of a shading, which is more like a radial type of a shading. I would call it a radial shading, where I'm using the contours of the side area of that space that I'm going to cover. So that's also possible. There are no mistakes in this. They are all just different ways of doing things. We're all permitted to be ourselves the way we want to be. So it's perfectly all right to draw any way you want and make your drawings your own. And this kind of a, I would call it more of a serendipity. So you do get some very successful results just out of this kind of coming across certain things, which might be a mistake. It's not really a mistake, it might only help you improve your drawing. So if I want, I can go on shading and make it look much darker. How dark can I do it? Now that is something you have to experiment, ask yourselves. That area is what will actually give you the maximum darkness. You will have to, if you cover the page, the paper completely, you can do that. And you can alternatively also use Q-tips. Now Q-tips or earbuds are what you can do. I've painted a tiny little matchbox with acrylic paints, put some tissue over it, painted it with acrylic paints, and then done some little bit of Zentangle on top of it, just for the fun of it. Alright, coming back to the subject. These Q-tips, these cotton buds are very, very useful. You can keep a whole bunch of them because once it gets dirtied, it will have too much of lead on it. You can use this Q-tip to smudge. This is called smudging or shading or softening of the lines. So if earlier it looked like it was, there were some gaps in between and they looked like lines, you can do away with many of those lines by using the Q-tips. So change the direction of the Q-tips that you are using, but there's something called torchon or paper stumps. You can also try to use that if you have it or if you can get it. Oftentimes the lightest shade is probably brought in from the darkest image around. Okay, that also helps in economizing the lead, and also it gives a very soft feel, a gradient soft feel. You can do the dark to light. Now I'm showing you what is a pencil file actually, and you can use your pencil to rub it off a little bit if you find that it has got some edges which cause lines on your paper. Okay, this kind of a shading scale, if you practice, it will be very good because it will really give you a good sense of how you can do it. Now, don't worry if you can't sharpen it with a blade. You can use this sharp kind of a sharpener. Always use a closed sharpener. When you sharpen with a blade, please use a safe place with some newspaper down or directly into a basket. With a sharpener, you lose a lot of the lead, which is why I prefer to do a kind of knife sharpening of the pencil. And always take the knife opposite direction away from you. Please remember that. That is a very important point. with the eraser. You can use the eraser several ways. You can sometimes I need to pick up from a shade, and that gives me a good effect. Depends on the paper, of course. Suppose you're using a thicker paper and you want to just pick up some areas of it, you can try these erasers. Often there are these little dust particles. I don't know what you call these little rubber dirty particles, but that is good for a uniform surface. For tiny surfaces, for peculiar surfaces, you can cut your eraser. That's a good habit also, the good practice to do. You cut your eraser and you start sharpening it or shaping it the way you want for your particular work. Here I am showing you how to sharpen an eraser. Just make it into a V using your cutter or a blade, and that point is good. It looks like a nib almost, if you notice now, and you can use this point to just hold it and erase only small portions of your drawing wherever you want to pick up, or you want to have some thin uh, pen lines and you don't want the pencil lines to show. This will help you. Okay, so there are a few other materials which you could use. Instead of that eraser, you could use and the eraser which comes at the back of your mechanical pencils. You can also use what's called a putty eraser or a kneadable eraser. I'm going to show you a few pens again. Now this is a Faber-Castell marker pen, and you can use this for your drawing purposes. You can use any gel pen, as I said, any kind of a gel pen that's available in the nearest store. This is a drawing pen, and it's also used by engineers and those who have to have perfect drawings. So this is a good pen. Then you can also use any 5 rupee normal gel pen. Okay, it's just a black gel pen. This is a Micron pen, and it's quite good in quality, and the nib is also a soft nib, but it still is quite fine. There are sizes in this. Now this is the last one of the lot. It's called the Geo College Pigment Liner. I like this. This is a different kind. You have different sizes again in this. This is a little thicker, if you notice the nib of it. It says 05. You also have 03, 02, 01 or 0.5 or so on. And accordingly, the lead would be a little bolder or bigger, as you can see over here, and I'll show it to you in comparison with a finer lead, so tip, so you will know what kind of lines you could get with a pen which is a little bolder. You can experiment. The thing with the pigment liner is you'll have to almost hold it vertical and use, not like you use a nib pen, like not slanted in position. That might be suitable for some or not suitable for some of you. But just have one and you can experiment and you can try. So you'll have to use it like this, like you make dots. When you make dots, you put your hand a little on top and then you make bold lines, very much bold lines with a pen of this kind. So put them back into your tin, and remember, don't put it this way. Always turn it and keep it down, because most of these pens have got some kind of a felt which holds the ink inside it. Remember, like our sketch pens. So when you keep it in this position, it usually tends to dry very fast towards the nib. So I usually put the cap side down inside. so it stays a little okay. If it's not in a hot place, it's okay. Now the other pen is a CD or an OHP marker pen as it's called. This is also quite pleasant to draw with. You can go to a store and you can just use several pens and try them out on a piece of paper and buy the pens that you like. You can use a regular blue pens, ball pens, and there's nothing like you can't use this pen or that pen for uh, Zentangling. In fact, blue pens, blue ball pens have become a rage for artists also today to make portraits and so on. So I'm putting all my pens back into one container, remembering to put the nib side down with a cap, of course. Another option you have is to use a pen which has got 3 colors or 5 colors, those kind of pens. Because then all you can do is just use one pen, no space, no trouble, and you just change the nib, and then you just roll it, and then you use the other color. So now I'm using black, blue, and red, as you can see here. That helps you. You also get black and blue, you get a kind of a dark blue. With blue and red, you get a purple color. So you can vary it. Please try drawing things like this, lines like this. So I've just made a freehand circle, divided it into 4 and given some concentric circles. And then using different colors, now with a black circle, with basic black concentric lines, blue radial lines, and red filling lines. You can do any kind of a pattern in this. Sorry, I'm using a black filling here. So then alternately, with Zentangles, the thing is that you keep alternating the pattern or the filling or the lines or the design that you are thinking of, and that gives a sense of complexity. So we've seen brush pens, pencils, shading of different alternative areas. Then you have seen the multi-color pen. You've seen how to sharpen a pencil, how to use your shading pencil, a regular graphite shading pencil, and the different types of sharpening, as in a sharpener's sharpening and a blade sharpening, and how to keep your pencils in watercolor pencils, how to keep your pencils in one place so that they don't keep falling down and the tip doesn't break and so on. You can also use for the white pencil what is called a glass marking pencil. Okay, this will be good for highlights. This will also be good for giving a feeling of popping up, the lightness of it. Anything that is light will surface, and anything that is dark will recede. So this Conte white pencil is nice. It's much softer than the glass marking pencil. So you can try to buy this also if you like for the white. You also have something called a silver pencil, a silver marking pencil. You can try to get that too. Now I'm just giving all this information by way of information. Let it just be with you. Keep them in the back of your mind. And when you go to a store, maybe all these things will be helpful. Yeah. So now for these colored pens, you might have some colored pens, colored sketch pens, some glitter pens. So what I have here is a set of glitter pens. Now glitter pens will be much lighter than colored ball pens, but they will still have some kind of a overall impact. They will be much lighter, please remember that, but they will have a glitter in between. It depends on how you're using it. I'm just trying to show you the glitter. Can you see it a little bit? It's glistening a little bit. Okay. So it's not direct colors that you would be using, but you can try that. As for circles, a compass, regular compass. All of us know how to use a compass. So, but then the thing is, you will definitely make a small dent in the center. You'll be piercing the center of it. Anyway, get a hang of doing circles I don't use compass very much. So, alternative, you can do other ideas also, but do a circle and then try to draw over it once. And the next time you're drawing it, draw next to the pencil line. The reason is you can erase the pencil line very easily. And when you draw on top of the pencil line, remember that the pencil line is underneath. Yeah. So when you draw next to one line, you would find that your line is shaking a lot, moving a lot. But that's okay. It's a very good practice for your wrist. Keep practicing this way. You'll get a good feel of your pen and how to use your wrist. Now I wanted to show you how to use the brush pen. I showed you a little earlier. So brush pen will generally, it's a soft tip. So you need to do a little bit of work before you use it directly. I wouldn't advise you to use it directly. So always have a pencil guideline and then do at least a pencil guideline and then do the brush pen work. So I'm still not ready to use the brush pen. I still want to do a little more drawing before I do the brush pen work. So I'm making one circle, one more circle, maybe one more circle, and then I'm going to use the same alternate principle to do the shading. If you noticed, last time when I did the same pattern, I did the center, divided it into four, and then I did the radial lines, the concentric circles, individually, like every quarter of it. But you can do it any way you want. That's the advantage of Zentangles. You can do whatever you want. Now when I'm filling with the brush pen, I can either have these kind of short strokes, okay, and then do the outline. Sometimes that goes a little awry. Another way you would, I'm sure, want to do it is you would want to make an outline like this and then fill it. It makes much more sense and it makes your life much easier. Yeah, doing an outline and then filling it. Okay, so now since I've started, I'm just going to complete this and show you the kind of dramatic effect that you could have with a brush pen alone. Now what I've done is I've just used a pen for an outline and then I've used a brush pen after pencil marking straight away. You might also want to use some diagonal strokes. That's okay as long as you're keeping to one direction and maintain that direction throughout. Okay, it's a kind of a discipline. So even for a small area or a large area, I can use a diagonal shading or a cross shading or a horizontal or a vertical type of a shading. That's up to you completely. And I'm going to show you how to also correct little mistakes that we are bound to make. So if you can see, there is some little bit of overlap or a short area there. That's why our jelly roll comes in to save us. So I use this white jelly roll to make little corrections after I do this. I know it's still visible, but it's better than before, right? You can do some little changes like that. That's if you have a white paper. If you have a colored paper, you can't really use a white jelly roll. You'll have to prepare a similar color. So initially, please start with white papers and then we will move on to colored backgrounds. This still shows, so I'm trying to do one more coat of white jelly. It's okay. Now with any shading, we constantly keep using our graphite pencil, our shading pencil, to give it a little more a sense of depth, because Zentangles is not just about the discipline of pattern making, it's also about creating a bit of three-dimensionality. So you're actually learning two things. You're learning art, you're learning shading, you're learning values Along with this, you're learning color sense and you're also learning to make patterns, regular patterns, which look a little complicated. With the shading, as I showed you earlier, you can make it medium and then you can make it darker, and you can leave the light area as it is, and then you can use another pencil, a darker pencil. If you want to use a black pencil instead of a lead pencil, you can do that. And what we do to highlight, to dramatize the shading, and then we use a Q-tip to make it uniform. You just do this for anything and it will really work. It will play miracles in your impression. You know what you have done, so maybe you won't be so impressed, but anyone who's looking at it is definitely going to be awed. Okay, then you can correct it, you can give it some outlines, you can play about with it. It depends on your mood. Sometimes you may just want to do corrections in a drawing. Sometimes you may want to do just the creative aspect of it. Sometimes you may just do some filling. So just keep some time where you find out what you like to do at any particular time. Okay. Now, freehand lines. Yeah, another point is when you're drawing on a paper, you may be drawing on areas where you've already drawn, and it could be a lead pencil or it could be color pencil. So they'll constantly dirty your inner side of the hand wherever it is in contact. So always keep a paper underneath, not a kerchief. Some people use a hanky, but I would suggest using a thick card paper. Keep that, and then don't use a thinner paper because that will easily rub off. So it's a good idea to always keep a card. Then you can try to use such coasters. You can buy a few of them if you want, but maybe at a later date. If you have some round coasters, they are very good for making circles, okay, or any shapes like that, basic shapes. So you may be using some square shapes, square tiles. These are like standard sizes, so they may be about 10 centimeters in dia. And you can also use your masking tape rolls, anything that's round, okay, anything from the kitchen. You can pick up bowls, cups, dishes, and you can use them for circles if you don't have a compass, because I don't use compass too much. And in case you couldn't see the center and you've done another concentric circle and it turns out like it's a little off center or something, no problem. You have some patterns which are still like that, which are not perfectly centered, like what I'm showing you now. They could be like that, and that still forms part of a design. So again, I'm repeating with centangles, making errors is like, it's like serendipity. Because you've made an error, you will turn out to make something around it and make it beautiful, make it a happy thing. Okay. So when you use marker pens, there are these, for 100 rupees you get these set of marker pens, Luxor marker pens. They are bold in color, so you have bright colors in them. So when you use bold colors, bright colors, remember to use them, not too many, not over use of it, but just kind of minimal to give it some kind of highlight, a popping effect, something that makes it stand out. Now in the video it looks a little dark, but actually it's much lighter than it is. So you can think about color theories, color combinations, and use them in combination. They'll really work. There's no hard and fast rule again. And you can combine it with color pencils. You can use a little bit of marker and then the remaining with color pencils and so on, which I'll be showing you those kind of tips later. So I'm just doing some light feeling and a dark feeling, a light stone and a dark stone, or something like that. Practice lines, curves, arcs. That's very important. So you have a hand movement, a freedom of a hand movement. So learn to scribble like this, like just free. just get very free with your hand and don't worry about how should I draw perfect lines. Don't worry, it will come automatically. And also this one is a basic rule of Zentangle, where you have free lines and you work over it, weaving lines, weaving ribbons. So it's more like a weave, like a textile weave, a ribbon weave. When you see ribbons, they naturally one is over the other. So that'll be one of our first lessons. So what I do is, where I have can you see now, it looks like this upper tape, upper ribbon, it's already upper and there's one going underneath. So where it's going underneath, I do a little bit of a pencil shading, and all the more that impact appears. Like one goes underneath, one goes over. I hope you get a sense of this. Practice this in a rough sheet. You can do it on newspapers or anything that you find your hand on. Then it becomes like, very easy for you to do later. So that's the depth thing, which if you do one a little darker and the other, initially we'll be doing it in a different way where you'll have to keep erasing, but later on you can just do it freehand. And then you darken the area which is deeper. Remember I said the darker areas are recessed areas. So when you shade that, the recession looks even more visible. And probably if I put a white line in the center of this, upper tape, it will look even more forward. You can use permanent markers, but I don't suggest that too much, except if you have a large border to fill or you want to fill a flat area like a tape completely, then you can use that. This is one of my favorite pens. It's 0.6. It's called Artline, and this is one of my favorite pens. It works really well. So if you can get this, I think there's nothing like it. And please notice what all it says on the pen. And it says drawing, graphic design, illustrations, documents. So that means it is waterproof. So waterproof will be good because we're going to use watercolor pencils. And when we use watercolor pencils, we might be using a brush or a brush pen to give it a dilute kind of effect. So you don't want your pen line to be running in the water. So remember to also look for waterproof pens. This is like not too thick, not too thin, quite kind of visibly right type of a pen. So I like this pen very much. Yeah. So keep practicing. Practice, just keep doodling and keep drawing, and then that's how you'll get better. And something about erasing. So now I'm erasing off those pencil lines. But if I'm using a thin paper, then I have to be very careful while I'm erasing. So I have to really hold the paper and erase. Otherwise, you could be crushing your paper. Okay. So please keep that in mind. If yours is a card paper, then it's okay. It'll be quite thick. Otherwise, press it down very well and erase. You also have these kind of erasers which are sharp point erasers, which will erase just that particular area. Or like I showed you, the sharpened eraser, where you can use you can sharpen your eraser and you can use just for specific areas. So that depends, everything depends on what you want. You also have the kneadable eraser, where you can pluck out a little bit of the eraser, and it's like more like clay, and you can pick out the pencil areas. Okay, so then after you erase, you will get all those rubbing things, that come out like this. So I don't know what to call it. So how do you remove them from your paper? You can use a brush, you can use a very soft cloth, and you can shoo them away. So I think these are the kind of basic tips that we need to know for our drawing. You can store them in different containers, and there are no rules for Zentangles. You can just keep creating things everywhere. If you've learnt a pattern, please put it somewhere. And that's really, really important that you put out your designs on something or the other every time. It's a practice, and it's also a lot of fun to have beautiful things around us. So I use little boxes, matchboxes, and so on. All right. So thank you for watching. Bye.